Human survivors lived in a city protected by a huge wall. The city was led by Colonel Grigio, a strict military man. His daughter, Julie, was a brave and lively young woman. Julie's boyfriend, Perry, was a soldier who deeply hated zombies. One day, Julie, Perry, and their friends, including Nora, went out looking for medical supplies. They encountered R and a group of zombies. A chaotic fight broke out. In the chaos, R killed Perry and ate his brain. By consuming Perry's brain, R inherited his memories. He also gained Perry's feelings for the girl he loved, Julie, the only survivor. Looking at this familiar yet unfamiliar girl, R packed up Perry's leftover brain and slowly approached Julie. Julie threw a dagger and stabbed R, but such an injury meant nothing to a zombie. Julie collapsed in fear. However, R didn't hurt Julie. Instead, he tenderly called out her name, leaving her stunned. Seeing other zombies approaching, R smeared blood and zombie gore on Julie to mask her human scent, pretending she was one of them as he led her safely through the horde. R's trip outside for food had been very rewarding. Not only had he filled his stomach, but he'd also found himself a girlfriend. R took Julie to his airplane hideout. Julie was terrified and began to cry. R awkwardly fixed his hair, trying to show Julie he meant no harm, but he was still a zombie, unable to speak a complete sentence. His struggle to communicate made Julie even more afraid. R saw her fear, so he left the airplane to give her some space. To better understand this girl, he ate some more of Perry's brain. After gaining more memories, he returned to the plane. He tried hard to seem less scary, using actions instead of words to express himself. He picked up a vinyl record and played one of his favorite songs. The song spoke for him. Julie's eyes were full of shock, wondering what this zombie was really up to. The next day, Julie told R she was hungry and asked him to find food. R immediately agreed, not realizing Julie was just trying to distract him so she could escape. She naively thought she could escape, but she didn't get very far before running into zombies. She quickly hid beneath an airplane tire. But zombies had an unusually strong sense of smell. They soon caught her human scent. As the zombies drew closer, R suddenly appeared behind her. He warned Julie not to try escaping, because it was too dangerous outside. He smeared zombie gore on her face again. This masked her scent, but wouldn't fool the zombies' eyes. To be safe, R told Julie to mimic zombie movements, correcting her along the way. Julie successfully blended in with the zombies, but now she was genuinely hungry. So, R brought out the food he'd found, and even shared a bottle of his treasured beer. After this experience, Julie gradually let her guard down around R. They started opening up to each other, chatting casually about random things. But when Julie said she wanted to leave, R still refused. It was just too dangerous outside. He promised to take her home when it was safe. Julie had no choice but to agree. Over the next few days, they sometimes sped down the runway experiencing thrills. Other times they listened to records together or played silly little games. They looked just like a couple in love. Julie seemed to have forgotten that R was a zombie. Since zombies didn't sleep, R watched over Julie every night. This made him feel safe and calm, but their peaceful life wouldn't last forever. One night, R suddenly noticed Julie was gone. Panicked, he rushed outside to find her. Julie had already been surrounded by zombies. She fought desperately, but there were simply too many of them. Julie was grabbed by a zombie named M. Just in time, R arrived and saved her. For the sake of this girl, he even attacked his best friend. M was completely confused by this. He believed zombies should just eat humans. R was about to explain, when suddenly he spotted a Boney in the distance. Facing this ruthless creature, R could only grab Julie and run, but the Bonies didn't give up their prey easily. They barely avoided this one, only to run straight into 3 more Bonies outside. They were definitely doomed now. At this critical moment, M drove up in a baggage tractor, smashing into the Bonies and saving both of them. But just when they thought they were safe, another crowd of zombies blocked their way. Yet these zombies weren't like the Bonies. Seeing R holding hands with a human, they seemed to understand something and didn't give them trouble. So they hopped into a sports car and drove away before the Bonies could catch up. The rain poured heavily. R wanted to say something, but didn't know how to begin. They eventually arrived at a small town and found a house to settle down for the time being. Inside the house, they discovered a camera. Like a pair of lovers, they took pictures of each other. Before going to sleep, R placed a watch on the table and confessed that he was the one who had eaten Julie's boyfriend Perry. Julie wasn't surprised by the truth, because in R, she had already sensed traces of Perry. When R apologized, Julie stayed silent. After sharing what was on his mind, R felt a huge weight lift off his chest. Even though zombies couldn't sleep, he had a dream that night. In the dream, R saw Julie, Perry, and her best friend Nora chatting in an orchard. He walked up and asked Julie if she could be his girlfriend. Julie didn't answer. Suddenly, R woke up from the dream. He sat up and looked around. Julie was gone. She had left after all. Strangely, R felt more at peace. After all, zombies and humans were never meant to be together. Julie had returned to the human quarantine zone, while R prepared to go back to his old life. But why did a zombie like R feel cold, standing in the rain? Suddenly, M appeared ahead with a group of zombies. After R and Julie left, M had come across a poster showing two people holding hands. It reminded him of R and Julie and brought back memories of his past life. Another zombie, guided by M, also began to recover memories. Their dead hearts started beating again, a sign they were turning back into humans. But the Bonies sensed something was different. To them, these changing zombies were traitors, so they kicked them out of the group. The Bonies blamed everything on R and Julie, saying their relationship had affected the entire zombie world. Now, the Bonies were hunting them down. To protect Julie, R decided to go to the human quarantine zone, but he knew a single zombie wasn't strong enough, so he asked M for help. Led by R and M, a group of zombies set out. R told M to wait outside while he sneaked into the city alone to find Julie. Using Perry's memories, R found a secret passage that led inside. With a hat covering his head, R slipped through without being noticed. Meanwhile, his body was still changing. Soon, he reached a luxurious house, Julie's home. He didn't know how long he had waited outside, until he finally saw Julie standing on the balcony. Julie was shocked to see R. She opened the door and let him in, then gave him a warm hug. She felt his body heat, a sign that he was truly changing. R told Julie that many other zombies were also changing, and that the Bonies were now trying to hunt them down. Hearing this, Julie decided to go to her father, Colonel Grigio, and explain everything. But at the same time, the Bonies' army was already swarming toward the quarantine zone. Colonel Grigio was stubborn and refused to listen. With no other choice, R stepped out to confront him. Even though he had put on makeup before coming, Grigio immediately recognized R as a zombie and aimed his gun at him. Grigio refused to hear a single word from R. At the last moment, Nora pointed a gun at Grigio, buying time for R and Julie to escape. Outside, a large group of zombies had already gathered. They were all semi-infected and beginning to change. Suddenly, terrifying screeches came from above. The Bonies had arrived. As glass shattered, the Bonies' army dropped from the sky. A brutal zombie vs zombie war broke out. The Bonies were after R and Julie, so they had no choice but to run. Just then, the human army arrived and was shocked by the scene in front of them. Eventually, the soldiers joined the fight against the Bonies. While escaping, R and Julie were blocked by a group of Bonies. They pushed open a door, only to find there was no way out. As the Bonies closed in, R grabbed Julie and jumped. Since the pool wasn't deep, R hit the bottom hard. Luckily, Julie was okay. When R didn't resurface, Julie got worried and dove underwater to pull him back up. At that moment, R regained consciousness. After surviving together, they shared a deep and emotional kiss. R's eyes turned completely human again. Suddenly, a bullet struck Ra. It was fired by Colonel Grigio. Clearly, he didn't approve of them being together. Julie desperately tried to explain, but then, blood flowed from R's wound. Zombies weren't supposed to bleed. Seeing this, Grigio was shocked. Something inside him changed. The soldiers put down their weapons. The humans accepted R. In the end, the semi-infected stood side by side with the humans, and together, they wiped out all the Bonies. Unlike normal zombies, Bonies could never become human again. Those who escaped were left to starve. The semi-infected began learning how to live like humans. The city slowly returned to normal. Because of a shared umbrella, M ended up with Nora. R had fully become human. He and Julie stood together, watching the sunset in the distance. In their presence, the quarantine wall was blown up, a sign that the zombie era was over. It turned out love really could change the world.